Welcome to the Vault XL. Happy hump day, everybody. This commentary is pertaining to Bryan Kohberger. As most of you know, he attended not trial, but a hearing on Monday, where he stood silent. His next court appearance will be October 2nd, 2023. Let's ask the ultimate question pertaining to the female coworker, the alleged allegation that he broke into her apartment, moved things around, and was surveying her. I always like a receipt when it comes to information, so I would like to basically hear from the female coworker because I'd like to know exactly how the conversation transpired, their dealings with one another, exactly what did he do in the apartment, where did he set up their surveillance, and did he plant his own camera inside of her apartment? And when she found out that he was accused of murder 4 times, is this when her memory jogged back naturally to him coming into her apartment and helping her set up surveillance or suggestion? Exactly what did he do? Did he help her set up surveillance in her own apartment or no? Or did he tell her where to go to set up surveillance? Did he actually go in her apartment? And if he did break in her apartment, did he put something in her apartment? What is the actual allegation? And is there proof of him setting up surveillance in her house? Did police find something on his devices to show that he was watching this woman or any other woman illegally inside of their home? I need a receipt. Somebody bring the queen a receipt. And naturally, no one is supposed to be talking because there is a gag order. But yet, we have this new allegation from a source that he helped someone, a coworker. She mentioned to him that she thought someone had been in her apartment, and he allegedly has helped this woman to some form or fashion. And now there's this information about him spying on her. So is this information that was possibly mentioned during the grand jury session? And this person has gone to a news outlet to speak, but remained anonymous, or somebody overheard this information and they went back and they told it. Hello, Hippie. Hello, Cynthia. Thank you all so much. Let's hear from Nancy Grace and her guest, Mr. McDonough. Oh, mercy. What else is going to come out by the time October gets here? I'm scared to ask. Was this Kohberger's first dry run into breaking and entering surveillance? If you get my drift. Was this coworker his first dry run? Welcome to the Vault XL, Nancy Grace.
Bryan Kohberger. I will never forget that name. Today is the day Bryan Kohberger is set to be arraigned, which sounds technical. It's not. It's the defendant in a felony charge. You don't normally get arraigned on lesser charges, but definitely arraignment in a felony charge where you are formally read your charges in open court with a court reporter taking it all down. So there's no confusion that you know with what you are charged. And this comes from rights under our Constitution. In olden days, thousands of years ago, let's just take, we get our jurisprudence, our common law from Great Britain. And there were times, and in other countries to this day, you can be thrown in jail on an arrest and languish there for years, literally. You don't know exactly what you're charged with. You don't know when or if you're ever going to go to trial. Not so here. Under our Constitution and case law that interprets the Constitution, you have a right to be arraigned, formally read the charges lodged against you. And that's what's happening with Kohberger. Now, he will either plead guilty. That's not going to happen because he's looking at potential death penalty. Why sign up for that? He's going to put the state to the test and try to beat the charge. He can plead guilty, not guilty, the likely scenario. He may have his lawyer enter the plea for him if he doesn't want to speak in court, which could be wise because some people may recognize his voice, although there's plenty on social media of him talking and speaking. Or if neither of them, Kohberger or his lawyer, will enter a plea formally, the law, of course, that's happened before, so there's been case law on it, so there's precedent. In other words, preceding law addressing this issue. The precedent is that if the lawyer or the defendant will not enter a plea on the record, the court, the judge, will enter the plea for them, and the law presumes they intend to enter a not guilty plea. Those are the three choices with the technical letter of the law. However, a lot more is going to happen in this courtroom. Victims' families are going to be there. We don't know if Kohberger will have an outburst, if he'll say something. I'll never forget O.J. Simpson, may he rot in hell, saying 100% not guilty. Did he say 100% or did he say 110%? What did he say? What were the choices? Was he 80% not guilty?
Oh my
10%
goodness.
not guilty? Anyway, everybody remembers that. This is following a grand jury indictment. And when you hear the words secret grand jury, like, ooh, that's scary, it's not. All grand juries are secret. In other words, it's just the grand jurors. Usually there's between 20 and 40 of them, depending on the size of the jurisdiction. They're typically taken from the voter pool or the driver's license pool. And in inner city Atlanta, we would have 2 grand jury days a week. I think it was Tuesday and Thursday. It would be all day long. And you can present a case to the grand jury in about 2 minutes. One witness saying, oh, I was standing on the corner. I saw this dope transaction. I got the dope. This is the guy that did it. And then the grand jury would vote. It's not a finding of guilt or innocence. It's very simply, is there enough evidence for this to go to a jury? For a jury to decide guilt or innocence, or if a crime was committed. That's all it is. Prior to the grand jury indictment on Kohberger for 4 counts of murder and burglary, it was believed that a preliminary hearing would be held, which was a horrible idea, which I said on day one, because that subjects the state's witnesses to cross-examination long before trial. Why subject them to cross-examination twice? And why give the defense your entire playbook? Why give them your witnesses on the stand under oath? It's crazy talk. Anyway, they came to their senses and had a grand jury. But that's not even what I want to talk about right now, because something very significant has occurred. It's as if a monster has reared its ugly head. With me, Chris McDonough, director of the Cold Case Foundation, which in itself is impressive, but what I find most impressive is the fact that McDonough is a former homicide detective with about 300 homicides investigated to his credit. He's the host of YouTube channel The Interview Room, and you can find him at coldcasefoundation.org. Chris McDonough. In the last days, it has emerged that in the months leading up to the murders of 4 beautiful University of Idaho students, this perv, and I don't think I'm going out on a limb saying that, manipulated a female colleague into asking him, Bryan Kohberger, of all people, to install video surveillance in her apartment. And he did, the big hero. And Chris McDonough, we believe, according to these allegations, that he broke into the woman's apartment, her home, moved things around, and scared her. And she goes to work the next day where he was at WSU, Washington State University, getting his PhD and a teaching assistant. She tells him, oh my stars, somebody has been in my apartment. There's no doubt in my mind. This was moved, that was in the wrong place, blah, blah, blah. We don't know exactly what was moved. It could have been a chair, it could have been a sofa, it could have been an ashtray, it could have been a
This is crazy to me. Oh my goodness.
I mean, I have this particular picture right beside my bed, 2 pictures. One is of the twins in their strollers, their double stroller, taken when they were babies on a street in New York. The other one is down at my church, my Methodist church in Macon, where I grew up, with my mother, my father.
Just tell all your business, Nancy.
And the twins. That's beside my bed. Now, I suddenly saw one of those in the kitchen. I would know something.
Hippie, I'm not a fan either.
So, from what the allegations are, Chris McDonough, the woman comes home and she goes, what? As he predicted, she came to work and told him about it, where he, the hero, the savior, offers to install security cams. You take it from there, McDonough. I can't wait to hear this. Hit me.
You know, Nancy, what a fascinating, delve into the potential criminal mind here. And the individuals, obviously, that, we've all associated with in your career, my career.
How can you be so calm? What is wrong with you, man? This woman has a killer stalking her and getting in her apartment and installing her security camera. This is right. It's obviously progressing. It's a step in the progression of murders. She's lucky to be alive, man.
Yeah, no, I'm tracking you 1,000%. And where I'm going here is this is really the pace that he was going at, the way I'm projecting him here. Okay? He is, to your point, he's the savior. He comes into this situation with this, technical background, and he moves things around. If this is him that broke into the apartment, the first part, okay? And which it sounds like it is. And he is playing this mind game with her, but more this fear game. This guy is projecting this fear, i.e. control, by moving these items around. And who does she come to? She comes right to him and says, hey, I've gotten blah, blah, blah. These things are moving, blah, I need help. And he steps in and says, hey, I've got the solution for you. You need to have a surveillance system. Now, let's take that also back to the incident in March for a second, where the neighbor of the victims at 1122 King, who all of a sudden goes out to her car, and there's this big question of where was Bryan Kohberger? Well, nobody knows, but we do know, and I understand from January through June, he was kind of MIA because everything was online. So that piece of this puzzle in March, we have to think about this car incident where she goes to her suitcases and discovers those had been rearranged. And now we have this other incident of items being rearranged.
I have to interject here before I pass out. I did not hear of a neighbor having, I can't repeat this, items in her suitcase rearranged. So now we're saying that he's a master burglar. Please follow this information very carefully now. So now you have to say that this neighbor in March, way before he allegedly signed up for an apartment and all of this, allegedly, because I don't know. I assume he did this in the summer of last year. In March of last year, when nobody knew of him or anything, he broke into a neighbor's car. So are we saying King Road's neighbor? and rearranged her suitcases without nobody seeing him rambling in the car, breaking into the car. Well, how did he get in? The doors were unlocked and he opened the trunk from inside of the car and went in and rearranged stuff in the luggage. And then what? Rezipped it back up, shut the suitcase and shut the hood, ran and jumped back in his car. Please stop. So let me guess, this is also going to be somebody that testified at the grand jury hearing, this neighbor and also this co-worker. What we need to understand is what went on between Kohberger and this woman. Because from my understanding, he doesn't like women. He doesn't talk to women very well. He creeps them out. And obviously he's the same guy that dated that girl back home that creeped her out on a date nap. So you want me to believe what? He started talking to this lady so he could get to know her, so he could break into her house? Or maybe he kind of liked her, was interested, made conversation, and then she found these things rearranged in her house. I don't know what time of day it was or what. I haven't heard of a police report or anything of that nature. So you have to ask all those questions because this is a missing puzzle right now. How did it come to be that they're even talking due to things that have been said about his nature and how he acts? So you have to ask yourself, did he deliberately make conversation with this lady because maybe he liked her or was interested in her and hoped to get close to her? And maybe not even close to her to say just kill her or anything, but just he was attracted to her. See, we don't know. We know what he's done now, allegedly. But let's just say then, could he have just been interested in her and found his way into her apartment, moved things around? But you got to question all that too. How did he get in if there was no break-in? So everybody's leaving their damn door unlocked? Am I supposed to believe that everybody in Idaho just don't lock their doors? They don't lock their car doors. Nobody locks their damn front door, glass door, window. 2 below degrees, what? They got their windows up? Please make me understand. Now we've got this mystery person, 2 mystery people now. Oh, somebody went in my trunk and rearranged stuff in my trunk. You have to ask the obvious. Well, how in the hell did he get in your damn trunk? And nowadays, people have doorbell cameras. So you didn't think to, one, call the police and ask for a report about your trunk? Or you just said, maybe I rearranged stuff. Or you did what this girl did. You heard that Kohberger was, ding, 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 arrested for the neighbor's murders, and you thought back to the trunk incident. Is that where we're going? Help the queen understand. Let's resume this. Oh, man, this is a mess. This is a mess.
Of items being rearranged. Is there a correlation there from an investigative aspect? Those are the exact types of things we start looking at. And then we discover in that car incident, if it's connected, her underwear is in the door frame of the cup holder. And
what?
When this thing is first going down, the cops are going, well, we have a lot of car burns going on around in this area, et cetera, et cetera. But there's no real correlation. Now this information comes out, and guess what? It's almost the same type of behavior.
Wait a minute, let me go back.
Kohberger, because...
Well, it would be consistent with this fantasy.
What about location?
Investigative aspect. Those are the exact types of things we start looking at. And then we discover in that car incident, if it's connected, her underwear is in the door frame of the cup holder.
I'm trying not to laugh due to the fact that this man allegedly butchered 4 kids. But are you hearing what the hell Chris Madonna just said? Her underwear are in the door frame in the cup holder. I give up. So I've asked this question before once he was arrested. Has he been stalking other women in Moscow, Idaho, and Washington State, and the state of Washington? Hippie, you're not following the content, dear. You're obviously not listening, sweetheart. The girl obviously lived, I guess, where the kids lived. So everybody's jogging their memory back to something that happened strangely. And obviously, Kohberger is their prime suspect. Because that's the point. If this girl never knew Kohberger, she would have no reason to even think of him. Because if he doesn't live in Idaho, he lives in Washington. And if this happened on the same street where the kids died, were murdered, and she saw that he was arrested, maybe her memory went back to, oh, I'm thinking back to when something strange happened. He's been on the street. He's murdered these kids. Perhaps he was also lurking around my car. That's where this is going. And I thought I was getting that intuition from information that came out after he was arrested, that somebody saw the car in the area at some apartment complex, lurking about and driving slow. If I remember that correctly, at the beginning of the story, when the news first broke about the white Elantra being seen on surveillance camera, perhaps he's been lurking around not just at King Road, but other locales in Moscow, Idaho, and other jurisdictions. Because you have to jog your memory back to the morning he left his house and got to Moscow about 3 a.m. He was doing something for at least an hour before making entry into the house. So what was he doing? Now, this is allegedly March of 22. So now they're saying MIA, he was missing, don't know where he was. Well, somebody knew where he was. It's just that law enforcement and the kids at King Road and this girl and this other girl didn't know him to care about who he was. Right. So you all have got to listen to the information. Maybe he took the underwear and put part of it in the cup and stretched the underwear into the door frame, which would make it obvious somebody had been in the car. I don't know how big the girl is or how big her underwear are, but you know you can stretch panties. Okay, it's not like we're talking about a toddler's panties that will be very small. The cup holder is close, you know, you can move the cup holder over closer to the door. He could have took part of the underwear, sat it in the cup holder or at the top of the cup holder, and then stretched it to the door frame to where you shut it. To let her know, I've been in your car. I've been in your belongings. So was the bag in the back seat, front seat, or the trunk? Because that's too much work to open your car door, open the trunk latch, shut the damn door, then go back to your trunk, rummage around in your things, pull the panties out, unzip the bag, leave it unzipped, shut the trunk, go back, put the panties in the cup holder and the damn door frame. This is ridiculous to me. I'm gonna let them finish. I'm getting exhausted. Oh dear God, help me.
And when this thing is first going down, the cops are going, well, you know, we have a lot of car burns going on around in this area, et cetera, et cetera. But there's no real correlation. Now this information comes out, and guess what? It's almost the same type of behavior.
So she did call the police.
In a nutshell, tell me what events you would connect.
I would connect, at this point, there's a high probability the car incident is connected. Okay,
when you say the car incident, I'm going to make a flow chart.
Yes.
Which car incident are you, to which car incident are you referring?
The neighbors who came out to her car in March and discovered her suitcase had been removed out of her car and her underwear had been taken out of her suitcase and put into the door frame, into a cup holder in her passenger door.
So where was the suitcase taken?
And you're connecting this to Kohberger because?
Well, it would be consistent with this fantasy.
What about location?
Oh, Lord.
Right next door to where the victims live. You can see, you go from her.
Now, this is where you can say it could be Kohberger, but you're going to now have to put Kohberger at Moscow in March of 23. So let's ask that question. Where was BK living in March of 2023? Had he already secured a place to live in March of 2023 in the state of Washington? Number one. Did he visit the general area, Washington, Idaho, March of 2023? Could it be he traveled down to secure an apartment, pay for an apartment, whichsoever, and slid his slick tail over to Moscow to play funny games with a female, whomever, over there? Let me tell you this, which should be obvious to anybody that is very meticulous with information, such as the Queen. Yes, I'm bragging about myself right now. I told you it will be jacked up if you find out Kohberger has been stalking the girls longer than the summer of 2022. We got information a few months ago that he possibly has been stalking them for a year. So then that will tie into this here. If he's been stalking the girls for a year, he came down to the area to possibly visit, secure a place to live, see King Road, see where I'm going? And also lurk about King Road and other streets and avenues. I said possibly they weren't the only girls he had been watching. And I think you would know that if he is indeed the perpetrator, the sadist in the making, the deliberate stranger, deliberate stalker. He's possibly been to King Road months before or even longer before possibly he ever applied to school, secured the apartment to the school, secured the PhD program. And that is meticulous planning, which would lead you to believe he planned this out, as I had said before months ago. Did Kohberger move to Washington State deliberately to be near the girls at King Road? Because if they have evidence to show Kohberger tampered with this girl's car, who lives right next door, that's too damn close. Not down the street around the corner, but next door, we have a major problem here. Because now you're going to have to go far out in the la-la land that Kohberger's been snooping around all kinds of places. He's went from Idaho to Washington State and back around. And I won't doubt he has been stalking the girls longer than what is expected, sneaking around other girls' cars, homes, schools. He's a stalker. I can't get what I want. They don't like me. They won't talk to me. So I'll take control, as you'll hear Mr. McDonough say, from afar, which is voyeurism, downloading pictures to the phone devices, watching the pictures, befriending somebody, pretending to be the hero, putting surveillance in her house. You see where I'm going. Moving stuff around. That's his form of control. Going in your trunk, breaking and entering, moving things around, and the worst case scenario, killing you. They don't like me. They ain't going to like me. I can show them I can get in your house. I can get in your car. Fear. That is a form of control. Oh my God, somebody's broke into my car and took my underwear out and put them in a cup holder. He was sending you a message. I've been here. So now you have to ask yourself, has he done that to the King Road house? That house had a lot of traffic. It would be very risque to try to go in that house, let's say, really anytime. But he did do it. But he did do it at a time when he knew they were gone or asleep, assumingly. And he assumed he would have the upper hand. Although there was a big guy there, Ethan Chapin, he didn't care. And that's scary to me, that a man would risk going in a house with a bunch of women that kept company, a guy was there, and the perpetrator didn't care. You're talking about a loose cannon, Bryan C. Kohberger. He was unhinged.
You can see, you go from her house right to the victim's house in her backyard.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's just too close for comfort.
So you would conceivably connect that plus.
Well, and now we've got the voyeurism situation, and now we take that
The colleague.
into the the colleague, and now we take this 12, pings in the neighborhood, and we think to ourselves, okay, and Greg Cooper and I talked about this, by the way. As you know, Greg ran the behavior science unit. We've been colleagues since 1998. And behind the scenes, we've been just talking about, okay, Greg, what's your thought process on this? And he's point blank comes right out and says, it wouldn't surprise me that he did a recon into this residence. And I agree with him. That there's a high probability he was poking around that house. Now, is that a physical recon or is it a surveillance recon? Well, we know that there's indications that he definitely was on the surveillance side, based on the fact that his phone is going to ping. But we don't know if he had access into their Wi-Fi into that house. And if he did,
I want to just conjure up an image for you. So, and they should be able to figure this out from movements with his cell phone.
yes,
But we know that he set up the colleague's Wi-Fi for her, including the surveillance system in the home.
Wi-Fi.
So he had her passwords.
That's too much information.
Break into her Wi-Fi. When I'm on the road, even from a plane, I can log into the Wi-Fi at the house. And if I want to look at the nanny cam, I can. Usually, I see the dog walking around. So it's not as helpful as you might think. But that said, I wonder how many times he would drive by her home to just get straight into her Wi-Fi. I wonder if he could log into it remote.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because I was doing something when I first listened to this information. Only a fool would stand there and put their Wi-Fi password in while the person is looking. Most people have respect enough, even if you are at the phone company and you're trying to navigate getting into your Google or this or that. They don't stand there and watch you put the password in. They hand you your phone back, and then you put the password in, and then you hit that button to the right, which will be to hide it, and then you hand the phone back to the technician or whomever. They don't stand and watch you put it in. Out of courtesy, you turn your head while a person is putting in their Wi-Fi password or whatever you want to call it, or whatever password you're making up for whatever app. And if I'm standing there with him, I'm not getting ready to put it in where he can see it. How about that? So I don't give a damn. Why in the world are you going to stand there and let somebody see you put your password in? Please make me understand. How do you know he didn't go in and put in his own camera the first time he broke in, if we're to believe that Kohberger is the suspect that broke in and moved stuff around? He could have already had a camera in there. Stay woke now. So when she comes along with the story, oh, by the way, somebody's moved stuff around, I wasn't about to sit here in my right mind and think she'd be stupid enough to let him see her put her password in. That would make no sense. He's a stranger. Why am I going to let you see me put in a password to my Wi-Fi when I just assume somebody broke in and moved my stuff around? And you're a guy and I don't know you from Adam. That's why I asked in the last live stream, what's the proximity of Kohberger's apartment to where she lived? Does she live in a home, a condo? She on the same campus? She in the same building? Does she live on the property? Did she live on the property where he lived? Or did she live somewhere else in the city? Did he have to travel far to where she lived or cross the street, around the corner? Those are the questions you want to ask. Because we do not know where she lived in proximity to where he lives. So when you say, oh, I think he's the one that did this, we know he'll travel. That's not a problem. But just for the record, where did she live or does she live? Number one. Who's to say he didn't already have a camera inside of her house when he broke in? Duh. He didn't have to plan anything the second time and she came to him to say, oh, by the way, I think somebody did this. And then he says, oh, well, let me help you set this up. Who's to say, well, he already had something in there the first time? He already had something in there the first time. Could it be Kohberger already put something in on the first dry run? And then out of the blue, she goes to him to say, this has been moved around. I want to know why him. Why did she choose him? Why did she choose Kohberger to tell this to? Of all people, yes, Mr. Standoffish, don't like to talk, don't like to communicate, talks weird, demeaned his female students. Why this guy? That's why I said, did these two have something going on? Did she kind of like him? Did he kind of like her? Were they flirting with one another? Because despite him being a creep, he's still a man. And he still would be considered attractive to somebody. Okay, let's just keep it real. Somebody would be attracted to Kohberger. Could it be this female? So she felt comfortable telling him because maybe they built a rapport or maybe they were kind of friendly with each other. So we don't know everything because everything we've been hearing about Kohberger is negative. But we don't really know what he had going on with anybody on the campus or in the city or a neighboring town. We don't know. I got a feeling when this goes to trial, we're probably going to hear a whole lot of stuff that has not been revealed to the public, such as this scenario here and such as this scenario of the panties in the door. Dear God, help me, I'm drowning. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $DeGanji, 129 Cash App, all stickers and chats are welcome to the live stream. Let's wrap this up with Miss Nancy Grace and Chris Madonna. Oh, man. The plot thickens.
Wi-Fi. I wonder if he could log into it remote. Can you just see him hunched over his computer watching this woman? Probably just laying on her sofa reading or watching TV or something. And totally, I don't know how to put this delicately, but
touching himself.
Like watching her normal behavior.
Self-gratifying.
Maybe walking around in her underwear or PJs for sexual purposes.
Yep. That's all part of the buildup. And there are devices out there, Nancy, that are available on the marketplace. They're called sniffers. And what that device does is it captures all of the open networks within a geographic region. Okay? And so as a result of that, if with his technology background, you know, for him to go and set up a camera system and get into it, that is a behavior that is somewhat, you know, very diabolical and planning, you know.
It is. It's not somewhat.
Another aspect of this, but you know, I'm just a trial lawyer. I think we need to shrink on this. But
you should have had a psychologist, Nancy.
I mean, who has time? Like, if somebody said, listen, I want you to break into your neighbor's place and move their stuff around just enough to make them realize somebody's been in there, then sneak out undetected, and then somehow manipulate them into asking you to set up their security camera.
Yes.
and then setting it up. So all of this, so you can watch them change clothes.
This is why I said, what was the relationship between the two? Because how are you going to manipulate somebody into helping you set up their surveillance without incriminating yourself that you're the one that broke in and moved the stuff around? So that's why I said, did these two have some type of friendship to where she just easily said, hey, by the way, the strangest thing happened. I came home and my stuff was moved around. And then he decided to offer his services, if you understand where I'm going with this. What was it about Kohberger for her to even tell him what she thought happened in her house? Because from what we've learned about him, he's not the easiest person to talk to. So why would this chick pick Kohberger, of all people, to tell this story to? They've had to have been talking beforehand. You're not just going to randomly tell some stranger, oh, by the way, the strangest thing, I came home and, my chair was by the window and when I came home, it was over on the wall. Why would I tell you that? And we know people have a tendency to talk and blab because women talk and tell everything. But why Kohberger? Due to his standoffish nature, I don't think he'd be the person I would freely tell information to. I got a feeling these two have been talking, said a few hellos to each other. It's been something. And that is why she told him. This is diabolical. This whole story is diabolical. Because that is what we already had to assume about Kohberger. There's going to be some other things that's going to come out you never knew about him that he has done or allegedly done. And that's expected when you're dealing with a sadist. He was a killer in the making. He was metamorphosing into this thing that went on King Road. He has to have a dry run. I've got to be able to see if I can get in. We learned that with the Golden State Killer. You've got to have a start. And in order to have a start, you can't get caught. You can't get caught. And with the Golden State Killer, the numbers are high of the break-ins and the rapes. Okay? And at least 2 times, he was almost caught. He shot a cop in the eye, and he shot a young boy in the stomach who wrestled him to the ground. 2 times he could have been caught, but he made his way out by using force. So now you have to ask yourself that as well. Has Kohberger been accosted and got away? Has he broken into other women's apartments, cars, following them around on foot? I believe when his car got caught in that park and got locked up back in Pennsylvania, I believe he was doing the same thing then, such as hiding in the woods, watching women walk on the trail. I stay woke. You know what time the damn park closed. He's meticulous and he's calculated, such as what that guy said about him in a news broadcast recently. Kohberger knew what time that park closed. What are the odds a person with his personality would get their car locked in the damn park? Listen to what I'm saying to you now. Perfecting his craft in Pennsylvania. So you don't know what he was doing in Pennsylvania. Why do you think he was possibly asking the girls at the bar, where do you live? It's not something you ask a complete stranger, which we know here in the South, men have they're prevalent in doing that. Hi, what's your name? You give them your name. You start talking. The next question is, where do you live? Why? It's none of your damn business where I live. I didn't say I like you. I didn't say I want to have sex with you. So why do you need to know where I stay? You don't ever tell people where you live. And here in the South, we talk too much. People ask you personal questions you have no business asking. There are questions that people don't ask you in places like New York, Chicago. Here, they ask you the stupidest questions. Where do you live? What company do you work for? None of your damn business. This is why people know too much about you, because you tell too much. Don't fall for it. I don't care if it's a woman asking you. If you live in New York City and somebody asks you, where do you live? Tell them you live 2 hours away, even though you live right around the damn corner. You have to be very careful what you tell people. You cannot tell people everything. And when you're meeting a stranger, you have no damn reason to tell him or her where you live. Yes, I live at the Casa Loma Apartments. I live on the 2nd floor. Apartment number such and such, such and such. What the hell would you tell somebody that? He was scoping even in Pennsylvania, looking for somebody gullible enough to give the information. He eyes you. He makes conversation with you. You're stupid enough to tell him where you live. The next thing you know, he's stalking you. Now, he could easily just go out the bar, sit and wait and follow you. But maybe I don't want to wait. So I'll just ask you directly, where do you stay? And as Nancy is saying, all this time he's wasting rummaging through things, if we're to believe he did both things, the car and the apartment, that shows you his mind is unraveling. Because instead of him perfecting his craft as a teacher's assistant and getting a PhD, he's sitting up here stalking people that lives 15 damn minutes away on King Road. Running around, following them around probably all over the damn city, sitting outside the house. That's how he got that damn ticket last summer. Because he should have been his ass at home studying or sleep. But no, I am interested in one of these girls. I'm getting ready to follow them around. I'm getting ready to stand outside their damn house and watch. Because he is sick. And that's a great point Nancy has made in this commentary. Who has this kind of time? A sicko has this kind of time. When I watched the Golden State Killer documentary on Tubi, that was the first thing I said. What did his wife say to him while he's out at night scouring the city, breaking and entering? Hey, honey, where have you been? You don't work the night shift, so why are you gone every night, every other night? And when you count up all the rapes and murders, he was killing and raping at least twice a week or more. So what did he tell his spouse where he was? Oh, I was at the ice cream shop. 5-6 hours you've been gone? You see where I'm going? Although Kohberger didn't have anybody to answer to. But he's in school trying to get a damn degree. So he's awfully super smart and can digest information quickly to be out here scouring the streets, hunting women. Because I believe that's what he was doing when he touched down on Washington soil. He was scouring and hunting and waiting on the moment and building up the courage to break and enter into someone's house or apartment. And he did on that fateful morning in Moscow, Idaho. Thank you for joining me.
All of this so you can watch them, change clothes? Go to the bathroom? Really? Cook dinner? You watch them while they watch TV? What does this guy do all the time?
Thank you.
Well, and then apply for a position at the police department to teach the cops
about people like himself.
Exactly.
I mean, but the time and the machinations required for him to pull this off. Mm-hmm. And this woman should be thanking her lucky stars. I mean, down on her knees to heaven that she was not his murder victim. How many times do you think he logged in to watch her, I don't know, vacuuming, doing whatever she normally does, studying? She was his colleague at school.
Yes, and this is why, we need to tell your audience and others, get one of those covers over your laptop camera, over your desktop camera.
Yeah, they tell you that. Yeah, turn the camera off anyway.
The capability of somebody getting into your system and watching you is very real, and not only the fact that that, and we're just talking about those types of devices, but here he's actually installing the devices, and so he's just taken this to another level to where, okay, I can see her 24/7. Now remember, all of that is about possession for him. Okay? Now, and the docs can. It's all about, okay, I'm controlling her, and she has no idea I'm controlling her, and that's why. Nancy, remember when you went back to the behind that house?
Yes.
What was the first impression you had when you saw the layout of how simple it was?
Honestly, I felt almost sick to my stomach because I don't know if you remember, we went behind the house. It was in the evening at night, and there were some lights on inside the house. I think one light was left on. You could see straight in from the dark on the outside into the home. And I could imagine Kohberger sitting there in the back, and there was a perfect place. I mean, there was where you can park your car and sit there and look straight in. I guess it was their top floor rooms. I could just see him sitting there. And do you see the comparison of sitting outside the four murder victims' place looking in to the girls' apartments, and him hunched over his computer at home watching this colleague whose security cams, whose wireless he had installed. It's the same MO, the same modus operandi method of operation. And you brought up something I find also probative. The incident where the neighbor had her suitcase removed from her car, her underwear taken out, and stuffed in the door of the car. I think it would be well worth investigators' time to canvass the area. I know they've already canvassed the area in regards to what did you see the night of the murders, but have any of them had any other unusual activity happening to them around the time of the murders, like this neighbor, where your car's broken into, where your home's broken into? Just anything that could lead us to the progression of his behavior, going from 0 to 100 mph in a matter of months.
Yeah, that progression that you're talking about, right, is he is living this fantasy, because remember, everything that happens potentially with these guys is fantasy based if it's has an undertone of a sexual assault type of challenge. And so everything, the build up to get to this point and then ultimately the rape, okay, is what we're seeing. We call that pre-incident behavior.
Right,
from a criminal behavior analysis aspect. So he's building, and he's looking for his victimology in relationship to, okay, what's my type? And, well, I don't like this one, I don't like that one. How do they react?
I'm glad you said that, because just if you look at a lot of Ted Bundy, just for example, victims, they have physical similarities. There were many of them were slight Caucasian females with dark hair parted in the middle, at least shoulder-length hair. I would be curious if this female colleague that he was spying on allegedly physically resembled any of the murder victims.
Great point.
And if they want to prove this case against him regarding the surveillance cameras, LA law enforcement could ping his phone or his nav equipment and determine whether he was outside of her home around the times
Very
that
true.
he was surveilling
Very
her.
true.
And
Both of
his
them.
computers show, would there be a digital footprint
Yeah.
when he logged into her security cam at home?
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can assure you that digital treasure trove will be front and center in this trial. As you,
I bet he could even do it from a cell phone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know he can.
Yeah.
I mean, meaning I've been involved in enough cases, I've seen it. And there's going to be a whole, it's not going to surprise me one bit when the FBI testifies at some point, and I'm sure they already testified in the grand jury. When they come to the stand and the public hears, hey, we have A, B, C, and D. Which brings us back to the house. Remember, Nancy, his apartment. When the defense went over there, what was the first thing they grabbed?
Smart TV.
The TV. Exactly.
And what do you read into that, Chris McDonald? I'm really interested in your theory.
Well, I read into it that it was important enough to tell his defense investigators, probably through his attorney, can you guys go pick up my TV at the house? Now, we can hope that obviously, and I'm sure they did, they stuck a stick into it and downloaded everything into that stick. And that's sitting at the lab right now being processed.
But what do you anticipate being gleaned from the smart TV?
Well, maybe that's his window into hell, i.e. the girl's apartment that he set up the surveillance cameras on.
Mm-hmm.
So this is his, maybe that's the device that he, was the biggest thing in the room. So for him, it's like, I've got to be part of this. I got to get into that room. So it's much more exciting for these types of personalities.
Happy now.
A big screen TV versus a laptop. Because remember, they want to be.
Yeah.
They want to be there. They want to be a part of it.
So you
can
conceive
interesting
a scenario where he's just sitting at home, like having dinner with her surveillance cam up on the big screen.
Total control. As Dr. Bricano says, he is controlling them without their realization.
The same way he manipulated the female colleague into asking him for her help. Him for his help. And how do you interpret that, McDonald?
Well, the Superman of that, right? He's the helper, as we would call him, the helper. I.e., oh, you have a problem. Okay, Ted Bundy, remember, he was the helper. Hey, can you help me, move this, over here, and then he'd hit you on the head with his fake cash. Okay. Well, it's the same, situation for him. He's just not that sophisticated yet. He was still moving through this learning phase of how to really, perfect his skill set here. And what did he lean on? He leaned on the skill set that he had the most control over in his mind, i.e. his technical ability. So his helping is he's utilizing that as a skill set to lower the risk level of the victim, and which lowers his risk level as the suspect. And this is why, when we think about that, nobody ever thinks about, does the suspect think through his risk? You and I talked about it, and when we both went up there, the first thing that struck you, I remember you saying it, many times, holy cow, there's only one way in and one way out of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so that risk level that he calculated
exactly
was to his advantage, and it's the same thing here. He's lowering her risk, i.e. in her mind, by his helping install a device that should lower that risk. But it doesn't. It actually elevates it.
And I think it also elevated his desire. It's like feeding the monster. He's spying on this woman, and it only exacerbates his desire to take another step, a step further into criminality. And all this while, Chris McDonough, he is interviewing and sending questionnaires to violent felons so he can hear their details about the violent crimes, rape, murder, child molestation. So he can hear the gruesome details of their criminal behavior, whipping him up into a frenzy.
What a great point, Nancy. I mean, and think about what you just said, I mean, even deeper, right, in terms of what he would be thinking. Everything in the questionnaire that you just mentioned lowered his risk. Everything. What did you feel like after the crime? How did you mitigate that? Those questions that he asked, to your point, which is a brilliant point, by the way, and just think, but if we think about putting ourselves in, one of the things that we always tried to do as investigators was to look through the lens in order to understand why a hunter selects a deer. You have to look through the lens of the hunter. And then in a victimology, what we call victimology, you have to recognize what were the weaknesses the hunter saw within that deer that allowed him to pull that trigger.
Or maybe it's just a matter of the deer that happened to be the deer that ran
across this way. Exactly.
Yes.
A deer's a deer.
He put out corn to attract that deer.
Oh.
And so is this camera incident the corn? And he decided, you know what, this isn't my deer. I need to find others.
And also, he probably knew enough from his studies in crime to not be related or connected to his victims. So a colleague wouldn't work because they would obviously come looking for him. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Great point. He's smart enough not to choose her as somebody to murder, break and enter, but yet he was caught on cameras and possibly ID'd as well by the housemate and others, doorbell cameras, being in the vicinity of King Road. So you see the flip of it. I won't kill her because somebody can link me to her. We've talked. Somebody can say they see me go in her apartment or home, helping her set up the cameras, blah, blah, blah. But I'll go kill these girls over here that nobody thinks I know. But yet you are linked to them by your devices, messaging them on IG and other apps. So you're not that smart. And that's the gist of this story. Kohberger wasn't smart. You're studying criminology and psychology, but you didn't plan any of these things through thoroughly. Because if we now have somebody saying, oh, I know he's been in my house or he's hacked in my Wi-Fi, whatever, then you weren't that smart. You kill random strangers from an entirely different state and they're linking your car, your physical body there, pinging from phones, downloading pictures, messaging the damn girls from your same damn phone. You're not that smart. So it didn't really matter which mechanism or method he chose. It doesn't matter the victims he chose. It doesn't matter the reasoning for stalking them, breaking and entering and killing them, if they favored each other or not. Kohberger was not smart. He was no Theodore Bundy, Golden State Killer, Gacy, Dahmer. Because somewhere down the line, each of these people slipped up. And the one way they slipped up is that somebody got away to tell the story. And that's 40 years ago, 30 years ago. Do you see where I'm going? When there was no modern technology. Fast forward 30, 40 years later, you have doorbell cameras, security cameras, nosy neighbors, phone pings, Wi-Fi, people who can go in and see that you shared Wi-Fi or pinged off someone's Wi-Fi. And that is how Kohberger got caught.
Yeah, that's a great point.
We wait as the arraignment goes down, and I can't help but wonder, Chris McDonough. We know about the accusations that he was spying on this woman digitally, this colleague of his. What more will we learn about Bryan Kohberger? Goodbye, friend.
Nancy Grace, everybody. Thank you so much. Nancy Grace has a YouTube channel. If you want to follow it, it's Nancy Grace, where you can hear her rendition of true crime here in America. Her guest was Chris McDonough, and he also has a YouTube channel, as most of you know who have followed his content. Before I check out of here, everything that you heard in this live stream with Nancy Grace and her guests are things I have already mentioned at the time of his arrest and thereafter. It's that there was a buildup with Kohberger. He is a bitter soul, a lifeless soul, an angry soul. He's mad at the world. He's mad at women. He's mad at those people who have let him down, disappointed him, teased him, did not find him valuable as a human being. And he decided to lash out later in life, and this was his way. Breaking and entering, spying, voyeurism, lurking, stalking, and the worst, murder. And sadly, it was going to happen to somebody. It may not have been the 4 young people in Idaho. It may not have been the neighbor across the walk in Idaho. It may not have been this co-worker in Washington, but it was going to be somebody. And I'm sure that when they dig deeper into his crimes, which they are currently doing that in Pennsylvania, you'll probably find more information that is nefarious that took place also in Pennsylvania. As I said, he has to have a start, a killer, a sadist, whatever their craft is they're perfecting at that time. It has to have a start. So the start is being overly friendly, asking personal questions. He saw that didn't work. So he probably went into the lurking phase. Well, they won't talk to me. They won't give me personal information. I'll just lurk about. I'll just stalk about. And as I said, the incident with his car being locked into that park where they locked the gate, I won't doubt he was lurking in a general area, and he parked his car in that parking lot. He was either lurking and stalking on a trail, or he used his car to park there and then walk elsewhere to stalk victims. He's been doing this. And I do believe he moved to Washington State deliberately. I believe he was possibly stalking the girls a year or so in advance. He applied to school nearby Idaho, went to this school, and could not focus on his craft, which was supposed to be schooling, but he had other things in mind besides obtaining a PhD. Trying to work for a police department was to get more intel into police work and also perfect his craft. He was going to be this person no matter what, because in the end, Kohberger has control of his own mindset and his actions, and he chose this path. He chose to remain bitter and angry and spiteful. He chose to stalk these people. He chose to break and enter, and he chose to murder these kids. I do not know. I will wait like everybody else to see if they will have cameras inside of the courtroom. As you saw with the Lori Vallow trial, no cameras. I don't know if this judge will be kind enough to offer us a glimpse into the courtroom, but I think they should, because people need to see the reaction from the defendant, see how he behaves, because in his first appearances in court, his teeth are grinding, the jaw is clenching. He was angry he was caught. He was angry he's sitting in there. He's wondering how he got caught. He's wondering why the hell he's sitting next to a blonde-haired woman and he just hacked up 2 blondes. How did I get here? What is this lady doing sitting beside me? And she should be fearful. And that's a question I wanted to ask as well. Miss Ann, do you not fear your client? Because you seem awfully bubbly in defending this murderer who's hacked up some kids, and now they're bringing more information of him breaking and entering to people's cars and apartments. And you're sitting beside him talking and hacking it up. I wonder if they chain him up when he's meeting with his lawyer. Bet you all didn't ever think about that, did you? Because you got to remember, she's a woman. He doesn't like women. Maybe at one time he fancied women, but the rage inside overrode what's supposed to be a normal attraction to a woman. He hates women because they have never liked him. They've never valued him, honored him. So now you're sitting beside a woman who has perfected her craft as a lawyer, good at what she does, and now she's sitting here representing me, and I fucked up and got caught. How dare she? You all better stay woke now. You can bet your bottom dollar every time he meets with her, he's sick to his stomach that a woman is handling his case, and a blonde-haired one at that. She should be terrified of him. And she better hope for her sake they keep him locked. Ankles locked, hands locked. Because it would take nothing for him to reach over the table and choke her out. And if he was free, he would gladly do it again. And I thought about that yesterday when I went live in my car. I was thinking that while I was going live. Kohberger wants out so badly. He could taste it. I don't know what his relationship is. He spoke highly of his father. I've not heard anything about his mother. But we have learned about sadists that they usually have a dominant mother or an abusive mother or all of the above. It could be in this case he has a nice mother. I do not know. But the rage comes from somewhere. And it could just be he does have good parents. They treated him well. There was no favoritism between he and his sisters. But being picked on exacerbated his attitude towards women and life, and he became a bitter person. But he could change that because many children were teased growing up, whether they were heavy or not. All it takes is one child start making fun of you, others join in. It doesn't even have to be about weight. It doesn't even have to be about looks. It can be about anything petty, because that's all bullying is built on, is pettiness. Insecure beings picking on other children, people. And you can also be a grown bully, because usually bullies grow up to continue their craft. Rarely do they change. May not be as, poignant when they were younger, but they still have bully ways. He's diabolical. And the sick part of this story is that when this case is done and over with, and these people try to move on some type of way, there's another Kohberger brewing. One is brewing in the womb. One is brewing as a toddler, school age, high schooler, young person. Another one is brewing. Another one is brewing as I speak on this live stream. There is one walking now, perfecting his craft, and he has not been apprehended. Waiting for darkness to fall. Lie in wait. crawl up the stairs, the window, the door, the glass door, and make entry into your home to violate you and then murder you. That's the sick part of the story. That there will always be a Bryan C. Kohberger, Hispanic, white, black, Indian, Jew, Arab, doesn't matter. He's just the one that got caught. So we need to be thankful for this modern technology because many criminals have been apprehended because of CCTV footage, phone pings, naturally fingerprints, footprints, eyewitness. So there is some good pertaining to modern technology. He goes to trial October 2nd, 2023. I pray that both sides will be ready to press forward. No delays, no shenanigans. Will he plead guilty or not guilty or stand silent? I do not know. Will he try to take a plea? Possibly so. Or let's say ask for a plea, because I do not believe the state will offer one because they will possibly seek the death penalty due to the fact that he murdered these 4 individuals savagely. And if they have viable testimony of other scenarios where they can put him at other scenes of crimes, they definitely will not offer a plea. They will not offer a plea. And I don't see them offering a plea even if there was no other testimonies of any other crimes. He is a danger to society. He has no business free. And in my opinion, he has no business breathing. And possibly if found guilty by 12 members of a jury, one day he will decide to tell the truth because he'll realize he's exhausted all measures of appeals. Nobody is going to let him out. That is usually when the perpetrator will decide to speak. As you heard with Theodore Bundy, Gacy. At first, when they're interviewed, they still want to try to blame the victims. They still want to act like they did not commit the crimes, but then they trip up and then they tell on themselves. Because at some point, the perp has to tell the story because he needs an audience. He needs an audience. That is the purpose of the killing, is attention, control. The attention and control I never got, but I rightfully deserved, and you would not give it to me. So I took it. They want an audience. And they get off by the killing, the stalking, the lurking, and they're going to get off in telling the story eventually. And he will possibly talk because he will have nothing else to do inside of a prison. He will eventually tell the story. And you will finally learn who Bryan C. Kohberger is. Please be safe out here. Be aware of your surroundings, ladies and gentlemen as well. Children as well. A perpetrator is lying in wait, waiting on the opportunity for the open door, the broken lock, the open window, the broken lock on the window. You walking around aimlessly, unattended in the dark, inebriated, needing help with your car, needing to catch a ride, stranded. All the possible scenarios where people have been abducted and killed. And also the deliberate stranger. Somebody that's offering you help. Helping you push a chair in your door. Push a dresser in your door. Helping carry your parcels in. Never allow someone to carry your groceries inside of your house. They can set them at the door only. And if they insist, that's okay. My brother's inside. My son's inside. Learn how to lie. They can come out and help me, but thank you and be strong when you say it. So he gets the point, oh, I better get on. And never be out in the dark, rummaging around in your car, your trunk. Queen has a habit of doing this. You have to stop doing that. I don't even recommend shopping late at night. Bad karma. Because your defenses are down when your back is to the street. You're digging for stuff. Something fell in the floorboards. Get it later. But see, I'm OCD. I like everything out of my car because I don't like to give a person a reason to even break in a car if they think there's something in there of value. This is why you need to shop early in the evening when there's light outside. You don't need to be coming out of your car with parcels because your defenses are down. It'd be easy to knock you down. You have to think because that is what the purpose is looking for. That opportunity, such as what you heard Nancy say. It was just a deer that crossed the path. You didn't have to lay out the corn. You were just there. And most crimes are of opportunity. Nobody had to bait anybody. You were there. Thank you for your time. When I get more information pertaining to the storyline, I will bring you an update. But once again, please be aware of your surroundings. Please be around your surroundings. If you see something, say something. Be a part of the solution and not the problem. Mind the children. And once again, all donations to this channel are by chats and stickers and Cash App, $Big Angie 129. Thank you for your time and following this content and checking my community board for the polls, your commentary. Thank you so much for following this content and the movie suggestions. And once again, let me go to my community board to bring you the said information. You're very welcome, sweetheart. Thank you for listening. I appreciate your support. Thank you for supporting this network. We're going to go to my community board and we're going to check out some of the things I posted. Just before I check out of here, to let you know, Madeline McCann, there's a new search pertaining to Madeline McCann. They're checking the general area, probably where the hotel where her parents were. So please check out that information. My movie suggestion for this week is called Saving Grace. It is a foreign film. It is now airing on Tubi. It's a very good movie with a very interesting plot. Please check out that said commentary. And here is one of the questions on my community page pertaining to Bryan Kohberger. Does Bethany know more about the night her friends were murdered? Have evidence to exonerate BK? Told the truth to police? No more, 72%. Favorable evidence for BK, 3%. Told truth, 18%. Lied, 7%. 68 votes. Will jury believe Dylan's testimony that she saw BK pass her bedroom door? 50% said yes. 22% said no. Not sure, 27%. 131 votes. Do you think there are witnesses that will testify against Kohberger that we never heard speak publicly? 86% of you said yes. No, 14%, 84 votes. Will Kohberger plead guilty, innocent, ask for a plea, or no contest, stand silent again? 23% said innocent. 0% of you said plead guilty. Very interesting. Attempt to plead, 13%, and no contest, remain silent, 64%. So that's very interesting. 61 votes said they believe he's going to stand silent again come October. What should replace King Road Home? Nothing, 29%. Memorial, 62%. Apartment House, 9%. That's 145 votes. Should King Road Home remain so jury can see the layout inside and outside for themselves? Yes, visit home, 94%. No visit, 1%. Demolish immediately, 4%. 71 votes. Okay. Okay. I want to thank you all so much for following this network. Happy hump day to everybody. Please check my community board for updates, set polls, take the polls, make your voice count. It's good to see how people think and their opinions. Drop your comments below the video and commentary and the polls. And also feel free to drop your comments below my videos in the queue. I have thousands of videos in the queue. I've been on this network, YouTube, for a couple of years. God bless America. Thank you, YouTube, and thank you all for your support. Thank you for those who stopped supporting. God is good and favorable. And once again, please be aware of your surroundings and know that if you say something, you just may save a life. God bless all of you. You have been listening to The Vault. Exhale.